Malik didn't even think he just swerved. The Escalade skidded across the Atlanta street, tires screaming, barely missing a man who stumbled backward and dropped his drink. "Bro, you crazy?" the man shouted, chest heaving. Malik jumped out. "My fault, man. You good?" The man froze. His anger vanished instantly. "Wait, hold up. You're Malik Carter." His whole tone flipped. "You the tech millionaire. Yo, listen. Since you're here, maybe you could help me shoot my music video? I just need like 5,000. Malik stared at him. He almost killed this man, and the first thing he asked for was money. Something inside Malik went cold. If you enjoyed the story, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. He walked into his penthouse like a man entering a museum he no longer belonged in. Marble floors, city lights, silence that felt like a punishment. His phone buzzed. Tasha. "Hey babe, I need a new MacBook. You know I'm trying to start my YouTube." He didn't respond. Another buzz. Janelle. "You coming to the gala? I told my friends you'd sponsor our table." Another. Brianna. "Rent is due. Can you help me out?" 3 different women. 3 different needs. Not one asking how he was doing. Malik dropped the phone and rubbed his face. Nobody wanted him. They wanted access. The door opened, and Nneka walked in. "You look like somebody unplugged your soul." Malik didn't laugh. "Bro, I don't think anyone has ever loved me for me." Nneka sat down slowly. "That's a heavy thing to say." "It's true," Malik said. "Every woman wants something. A bag, a trip, a connection, a favor. Nobody wants me." Nneka exhaled. "So what you gonna do?" Malik turned toward the window, the city glowing beneath him. "I'm disappearing." He packed a duffel bag with thrift store jeans, plain shirts, worn sneakers, a cheap phone. No jewelry, no designer anything. He shaved his beard low, cut his hair, and stared at the mirror. He didn't look like Malik Carter anymore. He looked like a man the world would walk past without noticing. He whispered to himself, "Good." He booked a one-way flight to New York. The Bronx hit him like a punch the moment he stepped out of the airport. Noise everywhere. People shouting, buses screeching, vendors selling food, sirens cutting through the air. A whole different world. He rented a tiny room in a shared immigrant apartment. Peeling paint, shared bathroom, thin walls, someone frying plantain at 2 a.m. Nothing like his penthouse, but it felt real. He needed a job, something rough, something public, something that stripped away every layer of privilege. He found it at the MTA depot. A bus driver named Luis looked him over. "You ever worked on a bus before?" "No." "You good with people?" Malik hesitated. "I'm learning." Luis laughed. "You'll learn fast out here. Bronx people don't care about your feelings." He tossed Malik a fare collector vest. "Welcome to the MTA." The insult started immediately. "Hurry up. You slow or what? Why the fare so high? Move, man. You new? You look lost." A woman shoved $1 at him. A teenager tried to sneak in. A man cursed because he didn't have change. By noon, Malik's throat burned. His legs ached. His head throbbed. Luis laughed. "Relax, bro. This is a light day." Malik forced a smile. Inside, something shifted. This was how millions lived, every day. No comfort, no respect, just survival. That night, Malik sat on the edge of his tiny bed, sweat-soaked shirt still on, hands shaking from exhaustion. For the first time in his life, he understood struggle, and yet, under all the pain, he felt awake. He didn't know that tomorrow, a woman named Nneka would step onto his bus, and nothing in his life would ever be the same. The next morning hit Malik like a hammer. He barely slept. The hallway was loud all night, kids running, someone arguing on the phone, a baby crying, a pot crashing in the kitchen. Nothing like the silent penthouse he used to complain about. He dragged himself to the bus depot, eyes heavy, body sore. Luis slapped his shoulder. Welcome back, rookie. Ready for round 2? Malik forced a breath. Let's get it. The bus doors opened and chaos walked in. People pushing, people shouting, people arguing about seats, people complaining about the AC. A woman snapped her fingers at Malik. Hey, you got change for a 20? And don't play with me today. He handed her the change. She didn't say thank you. A teenager shoved past him. Yo, I already paid. No, you didn't, Malik said. The boy smirked. You calling me a liar? Luis leaned out of his seat. Let him go, Marcus. Not worth it. Malik swallowed the anger. This was his life now. At the next stop, she appeared. Kaisha, tight jeans, long lashes, hair laid perfectly, nails sharp enough to slice attitude into the air. She stepped onto the bus like she owned it. She looked Malik up and down slowly. New guy. You kinda cute for a bus worker. Malik blinked. He wasn't expecting that. Thanks. She smiled like she already claimed him. So what's your name? Marcus. Marcus, she repeated, rolling the name on her tongue. I like that. She didn't pay the fare, just walked past him and sat down. Malik cleared his throat. You still need to. She waved her hand. Relax, baby. I'll pay next time. Luis whispered, let it go. She does this to every new guy. Malik clenched his jaw. Later that afternoon, Keisha waited for him at the back door of the bus. You got Instagram? She asked. No. Snapchat? No. She raised a brow. So you one of those mysterious men? He shrugged. Just private. She stepped closer, too close. You should take me out sometime. I like seafood and hookah. Malik stared at her. I don't really have money like that. She laughed. Boy, stop lying. You work every day. You got money. He didn't argue. He just let her walk away. But something about her tone stuck with him. She didn't see him. She saw what she thought he could give, even here, even broke. The pattern followed him. The next day, she was back. Marcus, let me ride free again. I'm late for work. He hesitated. Luis nudged him. Just let her go, man. Malik stepped aside. She smiled sweetly. Knew you were a gentleman. By noon, she was back at the door. Hey, you got $10? I left my wallet. Malik shook his head. I can't. I need to balance at the end of the day. She rolled her eyes. Balance what? You collect money all day. Stop acting broke. He didn't answer. She leaned in, voice sharp. You really not gonna help me? I don't have it, he said quietly. Her whole face changed. Oh, so you one of those useless men can't even help a woman with $10? Malik stared at her, stunned. She scoffed. I don't know why I even wasted my time talking to you. She walked off the bus without looking back. Luis shook his head. Don't take it personal. Bronx women like her. They smell weakness. Malik didn't respond, but inside something cracked. He came here to escape gold diggers. He came here to find something real. Yet even here, even in this rough life, the same hunger followed him. That night, Malik sat on the edge of his bed again, staring at the peeling paint on the wall. He whispered to himself, maybe this whole plan was stupid. He thought about going back to Atlanta, back to comfort, back to silence, back to being Malik Carter. But then he remembered the man he almost hit, the women texting him for money, the emptiness in his penthouse. He wasn't ready to go back. Not yet. The next morning, the bus was packed. People pushing, people sweating, people arguing about seats. Malik was exhausted before noon. At one stop, a woman yelled at him because he didn't have her exact change. At another, a man accused him of skipping his stop on purpose. By evening, Malik felt like he was carrying the whole city on his back. He leaned against the bus door, breathing hard. Luis looked at him. You good? Malik nodded weakly. Just tired. Luis smirked. You ain't seen tired yet. Malik laughed under his breath. Then the bus pulled up to a stop he'd never paid attention to before. A small crowd waited, and in the middle of them, quiet, calm, holding a simple handbag, stood the woman who would change everything, Nneka. She didn't push, she didn't shout, she didn't fight for space, she just waited. And when she stepped onto the bus, she looked Malik in the eyes and said, "Good evening." 2 simple words, but they hit him harder than all the insults he'd heard all week. Nneka stepped onto the bus, like she didn't belong to the chaos around her. No pushing, no shouting, no rolling eyes, just a soft, gentle, "Good evening." Malik almost forgot to breathe. Nobody talked to him like that, not here, not in this life. She found a seat quietly, adjusting her handbag like she didn't want to disturb anyone. Her face looked tired but not bitter. Her clothes were simple and neat, the kind of neatness that comes from discipline, not money. The bus rolled forward. At the next stop, an elderly woman climbed in slowly, hands shaking as she held out a few wrinkled bills. "This all I have," she whispered. "I'll bring the rest next time." Before Malik could respond, Nneka opened her handbag, pulled out a few dollars and placed them gently in the woman's hand. "It's okay, Mama, don't worry." The old woman's eyes filled with gratitude. "God bless you, my daughter." Nneka smiled softly and looked away, like kindness was nothing special. But to Malik, it was everything. He'd seen people fight over 50 cents. He'd seen people insult him for not having change. He'd seen people pretend not to see someone struggling. But this girl, she saw everything, and she cared. When she got off the bus, she looked at him again. "Thank you," she said. 2 simple words, real ones. Malik watched her walk away until the bus pulled off. The next day, he found himself scanning every stop, every crowd, every face. He didn't even know her name, but he knew the feeling she left behind. Hope. By afternoon, she appeared again. Same calm presence, same simple handbag, same tired eyes. She stepped in and greeted him like she'd known him for years. "How's your day going?" she asked. Malik blinked. Nobody ever asked him that. "It's okay," he said. She smiled. "That's good." She sat down, and for the first time in days, Malik felt the tension in his chest loosen. The third time he saw her, the sky was already turning dark, clouds heavy, air thick, people rushing. The storm hit fast. Rain slammed against the bus roof like stones. Passengers ran in every direction, shouting, pushing, trying to squeeze into any bus with space. Malik held the door open, shouting stops, trying to keep people from trampling each other. Then he saw her. Nneka. She was in the middle of the crowd, shielding her bag from the rain. Someone pushed her from behind. Another person tried to squeeze past her. Her foot slipped on the wet step. She tilted backward. Malik moved without thinking. He grabbed her arm, pulled her toward him, and steadied her before she fell into the rushing crowd. "Careful," he said, breath tight. She held the rail, breathing fast. "Thank you. I almost fell." "This rain made everybody crazy," he said. She laughed a small, tired laugh, but it warmed something inside him. He guided her inside, blocking the crowd so she wouldn't get crushed. When the bus finally moved, she looked at him again. "You saved me today." "It's part of the job," he said. "No," she replied softly. "Not everyone would care." Her words hit deeper than she knew. Later, when the bus calmed down, she asked, "Do you work this route every day? Most days? It must be hard." "It is." She nodded like she understood more than he expected. When she got off, she said, "Good night, Marcus." He didn't remember telling her his name, but somehow she knew, and somehow it sounded different coming from her. The next morning, Malik found himself looking for her again. He didn't want to admit it. But he was waiting, and when she stepped onto the bus, hair pulled back neatly, face tired but warm, he felt something shift inside him. She greeted him softly. He greeted her back, and just like that, Something small, something quiet, something real began. Not a relationship, not a confession, not a promise, just a beginning. The kind that sneaks up on you, the kind that grows slowly, the kind that changes everything. After that rainy evening, something shifted between them. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. The next morning, when Nneka stepped onto the bus, she greeted Malik with a small smile that felt warmer than the sun outside. "Good morning," she said. He tried not to smile too hard. "Morning." She sat near the front this time, close enough for him to hear her soft sighs, the kind people make when they're tired, but still pushing through life. At the next stop, a man bumped into her and didn't apologize. She didn't react. She just adjusted her bag and kept her peace. Malik noticed everything. Later that evening, the bus was less crowded. Nneka stepped in again, her hair tied back neatly, her eyes looking like she'd fought the whole world and still managed to stay gentle. "How was your day?" she asked. Malik blinked. Nobody ever asked him that twice. "It was long," he said. She nodded. "I understand." He collected fares, but his eyes kept drifting back to her. Something about her presence made the bus feel less heavy. When she got off, she paused at the door. "Take care of yourself," she said. He watched her walk away until she disappeared into the crowd. The next few days were the same small moments, small conversations, small smiles. But small things add up. One afternoon, the bus was stuck in traffic. People were complaining, shouting, tapping their feet. Nneka leaned toward him and whispered, "Do people always shout like this?" He laughed. "Every day." She shook her head. "America is stressful." "You're not from here?" he asked. "No. I came from Nigeria last year. I'm studying nursing. I live with my mom in New Jersey." He nodded slowly. "That's a long commute." She shrugged. "It's cheaper, and I help my mom with bills." Malik felt something tighten in his chest. "You work and study?" he asked. "Yes. Morning classes, afternoon shift at a small store. It's not easy, but we manage." She said it with pride, not pity. He admired that. Another day, she watched him settle an argument between two passengers who both claimed they paid. "You try," she said when he finally sat down for a moment. Malik raised a brow. "Try?" "This job is not easy," she said. "Many people cannot do it." He gave a small smile. "What else can I do?" She looked at him with a sincerity he wasn't used to. Any honest work is honorable. The words hit him deeper than she knew. He'd been insulted, pushed, ignored, disrespected, but she saw dignity in him. Nobody had done that since he arrived in New York. One evening, the bus was nearly empty. Louise parked for a short break, and Malik stepped outside to breathe. Nneka was waiting at the stop, holding her bag close. "You're early today," he said. "I closed work early," she replied. They stood there, the city noise buzzing around them. "You look tired," he said. She laughed softly. "I'm always tired." He hesitated, then asked, "You eaten today?" She shook her head. "Not yet." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small pack of crackers he'd bought earlier. "It's not much," he said, "but you can have it." She looked at him, surprised. "You need it more than me." "I'll be fine," he said. She took it gently. "Thank you." They stood in silence for a moment. Then she said, "You're different." "How?" "You don't talk like the other men here. You don't act like them. You're calm." He didn't know what to say. A few days later, Malik made a decision. He wanted to know her beyond the bus, beyond the noise, beyond the small moments. When she stepped off at her usual stop, he walked with her for a few steps. "Can I ask you something?" he said. She looked up. "Yes?" "Would you maybe come see where I stay?" She hesitated, not out of fear, out of caution. She was a decent woman, and decent women don't move carelessly. He understood that. It's just a small room, he said quickly. Nothing fancy, I just want to talk without all the noise. She studied his face for a moment. Okay, she said softly. But in the afternoon, when people are around. Of course, he nodded, relieved. She smiled a small, shy smile and walked away. Malik stood there watching her, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real hope. The kind that doesn't come from money. The kind that doesn't come from status. The kind that comes from a person who sees you, even when you're invisible to the world. The afternoon was bright, loud, and full of life when Nneka walked into Malik's building. Kids ran through the hallway. Someone was frying onions. A couple argued in Spanish behind a thin door. It was nothing like the polished world Malik came from. He met her at the entrance, nervous in a way he hadn't felt since he was a teenager. "You sure you're okay coming here?" he asked. She nodded. "You said afternoon. People are around. I'm fine." He led her down the narrow hallway to his room. The door creaked when he opened it. The room was small, a mattress on the floor, a plastic chair, a bucket in the corner, a tiny table with a cracked phone charger. No decorations, no comfort, no luxury, just survival. Nneka stepped inside quietly, looking around with calm eyes. She didn't wrinkle her nose. She didn't look shocked. She didn't judge. She simply said, "It's clean." Malik swallowed. "That's all I can manage right now." She sat on the plastic chair. He sat on the edge of the mattress. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she said softly, "You look tired." He let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "This job, it's harder than I thought." She nodded. "I can see that." He stared at the floor. "People insult me every day. They talk to me like I'm nothing. Some refuse to pay, some lie, some shout over small change." She listened without interrupting. "I didn't know life could be like this," he continued. "I didn't know people worked this hard just to survive." She folded her hands gently. "That is how many people live here, especially immigrants, especially people without money." He looked at her, really looked at her. "You deal with this too?" She smiled faintly. "I deal with my own version, school, work, bills, helping my mom. It's a lot, but we manage." He hesitated, then said the thing he'd been carrying in his chest for weeks. "No woman would want to build a future with a man like me." Silence filled the room. Nneka lowered her eyes for a moment, then looked up at him with a calm, steady expression. "Who told you that?" He didn't answer. She continued, her voice soft but firm. "Money comes and goes. Life changes. Jobs change. Situations change. What matters is peace, honesty, and the kind of heart a man has." Malik stared at her, stunned. She wasn't flattering him. She wasn't trying to get anything. She wasn't performing. She meant every word. He whispered, "You really believe that?" "Yes," she said. "A man who works hard, who treats people with respect, who doesn't give up. That man is valuable, with or without money." Something inside Malik cracked open. Nobody had spoken to him like that in years. Not in Atlanta, not in his penthouse, not in his world of wealth and noise. He felt his throat tighten. Nneka looked at him gently. "You're doing your best. That is enough." He didn't know what to say. He didn't know how to breathe. For the first time since he left Atlanta, for the first time since he became Marcus, someone saw him. Not the job, not the struggle, not the disguise. Him, just him. And it shook him to his core. After Nneka left his room that day, Malik sat there for a long time, staring at the door she had just walked through. Her words kept replaying in his head. Any honest work is honorable. A man who works hard is valuable. You're doing your best. That is enough. Nobody had ever spoken to him like that. Not when he was rich, not when he was powerful, not when he was surrounded by people who pretended to care. He felt something warm in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. The next morning, Malik woke up before his alarm. For the first time since he arrived in New York, he didn't dread the day. He walked to the bus depot with a strange lightness in his steps. Luis noticed immediately. "You smiling today," Luis said. "Who put that look on your face?" Malik shook his head. "Nobody." Luis laughed. "Yeah, right. Men don't smile like that for nobody." Malik didn't argue. When the bus reached Nneka's stop, Malik found himself standing straighter, breathing deeper, waiting without admitting he was waiting. And then she appeared. Simple clothes, neat hair, tired eyes, warm smile. She stepped onto the bus and greeted him softly. "Good morning." He tried not to smile too hard. "Morning." She sat near the front again, and for the first time Malik felt like the bus wasn't just a job. It was a place he wanted to be, because she was there. That evening the bus was quieter than usual. The sun was setting, painting the Bronx in orange and gold. Nneka stepped in, her shoulders slumped from a long day. "You okay?" Malik asked. She nodded. "Just tired." He hesitated, then said, "You want to walk a little after your stop? Just talk." She looked at him for a moment, then nodded. "Okay." When she got off, Malik followed. They walked down the sidewalk slowly, the city buzzing around them. She spoke first. "You know, I didn't expect to meet someone like you here." "Someone like me?" he asked. "Yes, someone who listens, someone who doesn't pretend, someone who doesn't act like he's better than everyone." He swallowed. "I'm not better than anyone." She smiled softly. "I know. That's why I like talking to you." His heart skipped. They walked in silence for a moment. Then she said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why did you come to New York? You don't talk like someone who grew up here." Malik froze inside. He had been careful, very careful. But she was observant, too observant. He forced a breath. "I just needed a fresh start." She nodded slowly. "I understand." She didn't push. She didn't pry. She didn't interrogate him. She respected his silence, and that made him trust her even more. They reached the corner where she usually crossed. She turned to him. "Marcus, you're a good man." He felt his throat tighten. "You don't know me that well, Hetin," he said. She shook her head. "I know enough." He looked at her, really looked at her, and realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. He was falling for her, not because she was beautiful, not because she was kind, not because she was different, but because she saw him, the real him, even though she didn't know the truth yet. The next day, Malik worked with a different kind of energy. He didn't care about the insults. He didn't care about the noise. He didn't care about the stress, because he knew she would step onto the bus eventually. And when she did, everything felt lighter. She greeted him. He greeted her. They talked. They laughed. They shared small pieces of their lives. Piece by piece, something real was forming, something honest, something gentle, something rare. One evening, as the bus rolled through traffic, Malik looked at her and said quietly, "I'm glad I met you." She looked up, surprised. "I'm glad I met you too." He hesitated, then added, "You make this life feel easier." She smiled a soft, warm smile that reached her eyes. "You make mine feel less lonely." Those words hit him harder than anything she'd said before, because he knew loneliness. He knew it deeply. He had lived with it even when surrounded by wealth. But with her, he didn't feel alone. Not anymore. When she got off the bus that night, she turned back and said, "Good night, Marcus." He watched her walk away, the city lights reflecting off her hair, and for the first time since he left Atlanta, for the first time since he became Marcus, he felt something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. Not the kind that comes from money. Not the kind that comes from success. Not the kind that comes from admiration. The kind that comes from a person who sees you even when you're invisible to the world. He didn't know how long he could keep his secret. He didn't know how she would react when she learned the truth. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing. If love was going to find him, it would find him here, in the Bronx, on a crowded bus, in the middle of a life he never expected to live. And it would start with her, Nneka, the girl who saw him when he had nothing, the girl who made him feel human again, the girl who made him believe that maybe, just maybe, he was worthy of something real. If you enjoyed the story, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.